In today's video, we continue on with our NHL offseason plan series. We're now the third-ranked team from the regular season, the Pacific Division champion Vegas Golden Knights. They will be a very interesting team to watch this offseason. Today, we're going to discuss their expectations and what we should see from them in regards to the draft, free agency, trades, plus their own internal business. Are they the landing spot for top UFA Mitch Marner? Will they pull off any big trades? Is the health of Alex Petrangelo a concern heading into next year? We'll discuss all that and the expectations for the team coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're looking at the Golden Knights here in the offseason plan series. Obviously had a really good regular season, winning their division, third overall in the league, falling short in the second round of the playoffs, but ultimately, for the most part of the season, was a big success. But obviously, when you're a team like Vegas, if you're not winning the Stanley Cup, it's not really looked upon as being overly successful. But it could be a big offseason for them. They got some big internal business to look at, plus they're expected to be a big player in the free agent market. They're always making trades that get this team to be better. So let's take a look at how things went this past year, take a look at some key stats, and then we'll analyze what we think they're going to do this offseason. So the third place team in the NHL, obviously the Pacific Division champions, finished with a record of 50, 22, and 10, 110-point campaign. It's a pretty good improvement over last year where they were a wild card team and made a record of 45, 29, and 8 for 98 points. So that's a 12-point improvement. Overall, nice jump there from the former Stanley Cup winners from a few years back. This year they scored 274 goals, fifth highest scoring in the league. 214 against, was third best in the league, so you can't complain about any of these stats here. 28.3% on the power play. That was number 2 in the league. The only kind of part of their game that was somewhat of a downfall was the penalty kill, 75.7, so 26th best. So the penalty kill was a bit of an issue. Otherwise, really good. Like I said, they improved by 12 points in the standings. Goals for were up by 7. Goals against were down by 31. All in all, like a nice season and nice improvements. Goaltending wise, they were led by Aiden Hill with a record of 32, 13, and 5, a 2.47 goals against, and a 9.06 save percentage. Of course, last year they signed Ilya Samsonov to be the backup goaltender as well. He finished with a record of 16, 9, and 4, a 2.82 goals against, and an 8.91 save percentage. Leading scorers up front were Jack Eichel, who had a MVP type season, got a decent amount of votes in the Hart Trophy nomination process. 94 points was a phenomenal year for him. Captain Mark Stone was next with 67 points. Tomas Hertl was 61. Defenseman Shea Theodore with 57. And Pavel Dorofeyev had a breakthrough year, scoring 35 goals. Of course, throughout the year, the team changed a bit. They didn't do a lot at the deadline, but they did sign Brandon Saad, who ended up terminating his contract with the St. Louis Blues and ended up signing there as a free agent for the rest of the year. Put up 14 points in 29 games in the regular season. Was pretty quiet in the playoffs, so he appeared in 8 games, not scoring any goals and putting up 2 assists. They also brought back original misfit Riley Smith at the trade deadline as well for another last run here, and he's now going to be a free agent, which we'll discuss here momentarily. Now, heading into the offseason, they have a $9.6 million in cap space. That doesn't sound like a lot, but they do have 18 roster spots already filled for next year. We're going to take a look now at their internal business. Well, they're restricted and unrestricted free agents. Take a look at what contracts need to be redone or replaced, and also some players that are going to be looking for extension contracts, which is going to be a big piece of their business as well. On the RFA side this year, they have Jonas Ronberg, Cole Schwint, Alexander Holtz, and Nick Hague. I suspect there's a possibility that most of these guys could be back, but I think Hague is going to be a piece that maybe gets moved, which we'll discuss here shortly. The other guys, I think Ronberg and Holtz probably get a new contract as well. On the UFA side, we have goalie Ilya Samsonov, Riley Smith, and Brandon Saad, who were both brought in later in the season, as well as Tanner Pearson and Victor Olofsson. So they've got a bunch of wingers here on UFA status. So that's going to have some decisions to make there for sure. The big business, though, might be the players, like I said, on contract extensions. You get Jack Eichel is entering the final year of his contract that he originally signed with the Buffalo Sabres. So certainly getting Jack locked up to a new long-term deal, or I'm not sure how many years we're going to see here. It seems to be a trend that some of these more established players are trending more towards 2, 3, 4, 5-year deals so that they can kind of re-sign when the cap is higher in a few years. Now we're getting bigger salary cap increases after a long time of next to no changes. So Eichel's contract is going to be a big one, and Dorofeyev is also due, and he exits after a 35-goal campaign. Is a player that Vegas, I think, sees as a decent part of their future. So getting him locked up would probably be a wise move. So having gone through all their internal business and their results, what are the expectations around this team for change in the offseason? Well, for one, are they the preferred landing spot, and can they get it done on a contract with top UFA Mitch Marner? I really think that based on everything we've heard, that there's a really good possibility Marner is going to end up in Vegas. Now, it's not a given. Other teams will push and make offers, and maybe they're compelling enough to maybe sway his mind, but it sure sounds like if Mitch Marner gets his way, that the Golden Knights would be his number one choice for a landing spot. They typically go after all the top players when they're available, and this would not be any different in this case. I honestly think that they're going to end up with Marner. I'm not sure what the contract's going to be. It's going to be anywhere from, I'm going to say, 2 to 4 years. I don't think Mitch is going to do a 7-year deal. You never know unless they offer him a ridiculous AAV that just makes too much sense to not to take it. But I think there's a pretty good chance here that they get him on maybe a 3-4 year deal. 2 is a possibility, but I think 3 or 4 is more likely. And then, of course, like I said, they also lock up Eichel on a good extension. And then those two are going to be your top 2 forwards moving forward here. Obviously, Mark Stone is a big piece of the puzzle as well, but often misses time. Certainly getting up there a little bit older than these 2 other guys. Certainly, like I said, had his fair share of injuries. Still has a little bit of time on his contract, but over time they're going to play probably a bigger role. So if they can get Marner and get Eichel locked up, that will go a long way to setting this team up for the future. So I really think that they stand a great chance to land Marner, far from a guarantee, of course, but I think it's going to be one of the bigger storylines to watch. Now, could the health of Alex Petrangelo play a big role here, and could it actually affect the ability for Vegas to sign Marner and not have to really clear space? Because right now, they have $9.6 million. They have a few other players to sign. Depending on those numbers, that doesn't give them a lot of wiggle room to really sign Marner and other guys. But at this rate, there's a lot of concern from reports and from insiders saying that they're not sure Alex Petrangelo is going to play next year. Or he may not necessarily sit out all year, but there's some concerns around his health, and there's some big question marks. So it sounds like it's possible that he could end up on long-term injury reserve, which would cause them to not have to move anybody. It would be a huge help for them to acquire a player like Marner and not weaken them at all. So obviously, if Petrangelo did miss the season, and the year after the cap goes up, that's going to help things again, kind of level things out. So the health of Petrangelo is a big question mark. We don't have a lot of details, but there's multiple insiders, including Elliot Friedman, who's gone on record to talk about that there's a lot of concerns over his health and how he's feeling, and that there is a chance that maybe he doesn't play next year. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But if they think things are trending in that direction, then they won't need to necessarily move any other players, which will make this transition to acquire Marner that much easier. So, again, we don't know the answer to that question, but it is going to be a big storyline to watch with this team over the course of the summer. Like I said, the Jack Eichel extension's another big one. Getting Marner and Eichel both locked up, if they can do that, will kind of help them with a couple of superstar players being stuck here in the mix for an extended time. It could just go a long way to making sure this team remains competitive year after year for an extended period of time. Goaltending-wise, it's believed that Ilya Samsonov is going to test the free agent market. He may not return. It's hard to say. I'm not sure how eager they are to bring him back. His results last year weren't awful, but they weren't great either. There's probably other options on the market they might be able to get for less money that might satisfy what they're looking for, or do they even go with a Kira Schmid who's already in the organization? That's a possibility as well, but they do have to sort out their goaltending. We don't know the answer to who will be the goalie tandem outside of Adin Hill next year. It sounds like, though, that the Vegas Golden Knights, if they are not successful in landing Mitch Marner, another name to watch that they may target in free agency could be Brock Besser. Besser, for probably a number of teams that are interested in Marner, will likely be plan B. Very different player. Obviously play a completely different way, different skill set. But if you're just looking for a productive player who can help you offensively and Marner's not there, Besser will be one of the fallback options. I haven't heard them linked to a guy like Nick Ehlers here as of yet. Obviously, he'll be a name to watch if he doesn't sign with the Jets and ends up in free agency here as well. But Brock Besser being a plan B to Marner. You've got the Eichel situation. You've got Nick Hag probably could be traded. Petrangelo may not play. Those are all big questions facing the Vegas Golden Knights going into this offseason. So, what are the answers to those questions? We don't know. But like I said, I expect them to be a top player for Marner, and the rest of it kind of plays itself out, to be honest. But, this is a really good team. They can make a few tweaks, add a star player probably, and see if they can't keep chugging along here. Obviously, they've had no problem attracting some of the top players in the game, and this appears to be no different. But the biggest wild card, like I said, in all of this is Petrangelo and his health, and if he sits out versus not, could have a big impact on their cap availability. And not only that, it might make it easier to get Marner, but not having him on your blue line is a big problem as well. So it'd be interesting to see how Vegas responds to all of this. But again, we're waiting for updates on his health. We don't have that. We'll see. But for right now, we're saying Marner likely is a Golden Knight. But let me know what you think. Is this the right move for the team? What are your expectations for the Golden Knights heading into the offseason? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.